Hi, I'm Steve Shelburne, owner and operator of Shelburne RV here in beautiful Cleveland, Tennessee. Well, it's Monday morning. We're back. Welcome back, Shelburne RV. Appreciate everybody watching again this week. I had a ton of subscriptions over the weekend, thanks to one of the RVing communities. So welcome, guys. Welcome, Shelburne RV. We're back here on a Monday morning. I took 2 days off last week. Some people know, some people don't. I'm an avid model airplaner. So they had a big swap meet down in Perry, Georgia that I went to this last weekend. So went down there and hung out with a few of my friends. Kind of a funny story. I had seen a Winnebago Journey down there from Texas, and I went over there to the guy and wanted to make sure to give him one of my cards. That way he knew who I was and that I worked on basement airs, and he knew me right off the bat. Said he'd been watching my videos and actually had my number saved in his cell phone, so all the way from Texas. So, you know, you never know who you're going to reach or who you're going to meet or who you're going to see. Another interesting note, there was a video several videos back called The Gray Dog. If you haven't seen that one, go back and watch that one. I got to see that gentleman again. He had that same bus was back down there, and he had added some solar cells to it on the roof, and had actually put a clutch and throwout bearing in that thing himself, which just kind of amazes me, because that's a big deal, I guess. So anyways, talked with him for a few minutes and saw what he had going on. But we got lots going on this week, so we're going to go around. I'll get you some things, show you a few things we got going on, but let's get rolling this morning. So last week we talked about this horse trailer going to 2 independent jack operations. Now you can see we've got the Equalizer, the new Equalizer button here. There's the new valve and assembly, and then the wiring harness, and we'll have to do a little bit of wiring because they didn't include the grounds to go to the chassis. But Mr. Lewis is in here now working on that, trying to get that done. So boys were working on this Coachman while I was gone, and if you remember, all this was somebody had taken some 100% silicone and gone in there and really just peeled it in there. So they've gone in and they've sealed this again, cleaned it out, resealed it with the good M1. And we've got all that sealed up, and they actually went in and re-seal tested it with the Seal Tech machine, and it's good to go. So it's heading out. So we're in here working on this other basement air. Now this is the second one that came out of that same Prevost bus, and the customer stated that it did work fine. He just wanted to double check to make sure that it was operating correctly. Now we did find that those wires were burned. And obviously you can see I've got the new bearing for the outdoor fan, but you can see how bad and nasty that coil is. And you know, obviously this one's pretty bad too, and we'll go in here and rake all this stuff back out and straighten it up. But Lewis is getting me a cord, and we're gonna test run this now. So here's the fan motor, the outdoor fan motor out of this basement air that Lewis is getting ready to put a bearing on. And you can see that one's ready for some service. So he'll get over here and get that. He's already got it changed out. But yeah, this definitely gonna want to clean that up a little bit. So next project, we're working on a Winnebago Journey. Came in for some water leak issues. Now Mr. Cody told me to come back here and take a quick gander at this, because there's something he wanted me to see about this. And let's take a look here. Let me see if I can get my flashlight in here and my camera. That's back here in a tight spot. Let me see if I can see what's going on back here. Nope. Okay, so we can kind of see what's going on there now. See all that black stuff that you see around that right there? That is Flex Seal. So he's been back here trying to Flex Seal the back of this hot water heater, and that's what all that black is over there. But yeah, he's been back here trying to Flex Seal this hot water heater. Okay, so you guys already know how I feel about that product. And, you know, on the back of a hot water heater, don't know why it's leaking. Well, to do it the right way, obviously, is going to be a little bit of pain because he's got to pull all that apart. But the right way to fix it is that way. So, you know, it's just, we're seeing more and more of that. Don't believe them commercials. They don't work. That stuff don't work. Let me show you this Solitude. So working on a Solitude here, and it had come in a week or so ago, and then the customer brought it back, said there was water leaking inside the camper. Now I did find one of the hoses was loose back here, and you can see I've had my towels back here because the water's been running like right down through here. Well, what I found out was when this bay is filling up with water, the sealant had failed back here, and so, you know, obviously this has got to raise, for that to go out there, that water's got to get up probably 3/16 of an inch in there to get out through there. So that's no bueno. So what I did was I had a piece of plastic pipe, and let me see, I'll bring it down here and show you what I did here. Yep, there it is. So what I did was I took a piece of plastic pipe and I actually drove it down there and offset it, and then I've gone around with the good marine grade M1 and we've sealed all this, and now I've got that set up where that is a low point for this camper. Now I've done this on several other campers where we've had those issues with the water trying to get out of here, because obviously it can't get up and over that. You got to have a lot of water in there, but all the water was running up under the back and flowing out onto the back floor. So now that we got that resolved, I'll let that sealant tack up, and then we're going to retest this. So Lewis is working on the mount for this shower pan. Now you can see we're going to use this. This has got a, let me open this up. I'll show you what's kind of going on here. It's kind of a neat product. So see how it has like it's got like a duck bill in there. And so that's really nice when we work on some of these where it's not got a lot of room down here, so you don't have to have that big trap, because you know that trap's going to sit out here about like that. So having that to kind of keep everything on a nice tight area works out pretty good. So Lewis has got that, and he's got that made, and then we should be able to reach in there with our hands to be able to get that undone when it sits back in there. So kind of heading in, trying to get that fabricated up. So back here on the Airstream, Mr. Lewis has been working on a mock-up for this shower pan and surround, and you can see he's got the shower pan in there. So this is basically what we've come up with the surround, just trying to get a cardboard template of what we're actually going to do here. So obviously this is going to be a little bit longer. We're just kind of doing this as a mock-up, and then this matches that curvature of the wall real nice. So Lewis is going to pull this out and transpose this onto the shower surround that we got now, and we're going to get it cut out and see what happens. All right, so we're working on an Alpine, and we've got this this Dometic Blizzard Air, and the customer was having a lot of problems with water getting in here. I've had issues in the past where a lot of the Blizzard Airs are mounted to the roof with bolts. They don't have the bolts underneath it that pull it tight against the roof. I'm not a real big fan of this, because if you over tighten these bolts, the bolts actually strip out into wood, and so then you can't ever get it tight, and water always leaks in, because you know these are the drains for the condensation of the evap coil, and so if that gas gets not tight, then that water drips out of there, goes up inside the camper. So he's had some issues here, and the more we've gotten into this, the more we found out there's an issue here. Now this one is controlled with a Dometic 10-button thermostat, so we're going to have to do a little bit of, because I'm not putting a Dometic back on here. We're actually going to put a Coleman back on here, and so I'm going to have to do a little different there, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that, because I'm probably one of the few people in the country that's going to do what you're going to see done here today. So let me go up on the roof and show you a couple things real quick. Now the customer had, when he bought this, they had to put a roof on it because it had some issues. Now they did use the good PVC material that we like. They didn't do a very good job, and the lighting's kind of messed up here. Let me show you this. We've talked about in the past how we staple these down. They just did a horrible job right here. And then the other thing is, there's no sealant. There's butyl. You can see the butyl popping out through there, but no sealant across that bar. So they did an okay job. They just didn't do the detail stuff, which is a problem. So now you can kind of see we've got the air conditioner off, and again, this is one that has no lower assembly, which I'm not a fan of. These here actually have bolts, and you can see the bolts that we're going to use, the bolt pattern for the Dometic does not match what the Dometic was. Did I say that right? The Coleman bolt pattern does not match the Dometic. Okay, well anyways. So what we've done is we've gone in here and we've injected this with M1, and then we're gonna flush these off with a razor blade. And just to make sure we don't have any problems, we've got these patches we cut out of the PVC. Now the beauty about PVC roof is the patch and a little bit of clear PVC glue, and we're gonna glue those patches down, then we're gonna seal around them just for extra benefit. The M1 would probably keep it all cleaned out, but we're gonna make for dang sure it ain't gonna leak. Now, the other problem is, again, if you tighten the bolts down in this wood, you're never gonna get the air conditioner tight enough. So we're gonna tighten it down, but we're actually gonna glue the air conditioner down with M1 to make sure that it doesn't leak, because we don't want any water in here. And you can see this has had water in it. See how all the mold in there? So he's actually gonna spray that down with some mold and mildew stain remover. We're gonna kill that, and then we're gonna tape all the ductwork back off, and then we're gonna put the Coleman on here, and I'm gonna show you how we're gonna make the Coleman work with the Dometic 10-button thermostat, which 90% of you out there is gonna say it can't happen, but I'm gonna show you how that's gonna happen today, because I got a trick to that. So I've got this little leisure van B-class over here, a Serenity. Came in with some jack issues. Now, these are kind of funky little campers anyways. I guess they're kind of a European style, but the jacks that are under are like electric scissor jacks, which typically we see those on bumper pulls and fifth wheels just to stabilize. Now this one's actually made by Equalizer. Kind of interesting. I've never seen one on camper like this. Of course, European style stuff's a little different than what we see in the United States typically. So did a little troubleshooting on it yesterday. One of the jacks had come down, but the other one wouldn't operate. So the boys actually got underneath of it. We hooked power straight to the motors. Both motors are working. So we went in here and started digging around, trying to find a controller for this. And we finally found it. After we did some checking, the output for the right jack, there's no output, so it's obviously going to need a control. But let me take you in here and show you where this is buried at. Okay, so this little Serenity van by Leisure. So controller sits up here. We got the Equalizer controller sits up in the cabinet right there. And so then underneath this bench is where they mount everything: transfer switch, disconnects. It's just all buried up under here, fuses. But here's the controller for the Equalizer. Now, that's right jack, this is left jack. This one has power. When we turn the switch on, there's no output on this right here. So this controller is dead. So I'm gonna have to call Equalizer and see if that's even available or what they have for that. So we're gonna call them now. Okay, so Adrian has now got the new Coleman Mach 15 mounted to the roof. Now, when you guys saw in the previous video, the control board was actually mounted in that air unit. And so it's obviously hardwired in there. So to put that in the Dometic obviously is a problem. So typically what I do is, over the years, these are the old metal control boxes that had the old analog thermostat. And so over the years, I've saved all those. And then this one here had the Dometic, the CCC 10-button controller. So I save those boxes, and then what I do is I go in there and remount the 10-button thermostat into that metal box. And then I make a plate so I can bolt it up, obviously, to the Coleman shroud. And then these adapter plugs, which we build in-house, I can use this adapter plug to plug any Coleman air conditioner into any Dometic thermostat. And so we don't have to sell that brand no more. We can sell the Made in America Coleman brand. And so with that adapter, we can do that. So This adapter plug is obviously something we build in-house. There's nobody else does this. I've heard multiple conversations of, well, you can't do what you're doing. Well, there it is. You've seen it on my video. So anyways, got any questions, concerns about that, call me. So we got a Durango fifth wheel in last week that brand new, and the gentleman wants to add a generator to it. Now, it was not pre-wired for a generator, so you know, everything's got to have a new install. So let me kind of show you what's going on with this. So he's got his new Cummins 5500 set in there. Now, obviously underneath here, it's got to be cut out because it's got to be able to draw cold air in through the generator and eject the hot air out of there. That has not been cut out yet. The generator's just sitting in there. So we do have to pull that out this morning and get that laid out and cut. Now, the incoming power came in on that wall over there, and we had to add a transfer switch. So we pulled the cable. That was the cable that was actually up in the twist lock, and it goes way back into the cabinet over there. But we took it out, mounted it in here, went and got some 10 4 SJO, and then he's got the generator line strapped across there. It goes all the way up, and he's got a box mounted up there for the generator. So we've got all the electrical done. We just got to pull the generator and get the hole cut out. All right, so I went on the Cummins website and actually downloaded the drawing that shows how the bolt holes and how the fresh air and exhaust is actually laid out. So I went in here and laid it all out. This is what I used to do in my old previous career. Now, everything on the drawing is based off the bolt holes. So once you find the mounting holes for the generator, then you can find the center and the plates for that. So now that I've got these laid out, I'm actually going here and cut these out, and this will be obviously the air, the fresh air in, and then this is where the exhaust comes out. Well, Mr. Cody's got the generator fired up in this Durango. You remember this was a brand new install. Now you can see the exhaust kind of blowing out underneath there. I've got the exhaust kit ordered from Cummins. We're waiting on it to come in. It should be here today. The only thing is, so remember, this thing was not set up originally from the factory for a generator. So there's no fuel tank in this camper. Typically these toy haulers, if it had a toy hauler, it would have a fuel tank in the back. Now this one's got the party deck on the back of it, so there's no fuel tank. So we're actually just test running it on our jug. And we're going to leave the fuel system problem to that customer. So I'm obviously not going to install a fuel tank in this for obvious reasons, because I don't want the liability of it, because it really was never really set up for that. So that's going to be up to the customer. He's got he knows a guy that does fuel tanks for the racing industry, so he's actually going to have an aluminum fuel tank built for that. So we're just going to leave that to him. We did the install. The fuel system is going to be his problem. So they're finishing that up now. They got the transfer switch, should be transferring power, and they're just going in there and load testing all this. Now, this one did have the LCI One Touch with the Xbox inside there, and it does have the output to hook the generator up to run it from the Xbox. Now, I've only ever seen a couple of these, and I really don't have no experience on it. So for now, he's just going to start and stop it from right there, and it's just what it's. I just can't help him on the other. I just don't have enough experience on it. So they're finishing that, testing that up, and then we're gonna send it on its way. Cousin Gary had just finished up on this Class A motor coach right here, and so he's pulling it out. And then we've got a couple of them more we got to pull in here today. You kind of see it's kind of overcast and raining today, so it is what it is. So we're gonna go grab a couple of those, and I'll show you what we got going on with them. So we had a little Winnebago Suncruiser come in, and customer had stated that the driver's side jack was not working, and they weren't quite sure what was going on. Now, this does have the HWH hydraulic system on it. And so one thing I want to show you is all these solenoids activate and allow fluid to run to those jacks, and this is what operates the jacks. But now look what I found as soon as I opened up the thing here. So that's a problem. Now, these are the original solenoids. The new solenoids actually have a little lever that you can pop up that's on the end of these solenoids that allows it to bypass. So these are the original solenoids. So I got to give a call to HWH and see what the current and updated part number is, and then we'll get this test installed and retested and see what happens. So we had this Cougar that came in, and one of the customer complaints on this was that these sewer connections right here from the factory, they actually just were right there. So you had to reach way up underneath here to be able to hook that up. So the customer didn't like that. So we went in here and changed that, put those 45s on there, got it all hooked up, and see, we've done the same thing with that one. As you can see how far up underneath there, it was terrible bad idea. So now that we got that done, it'll be a little easier for him to hook his tanks up. Okay, so we're under here on this Suncruiser. We're trying to get the jacks to retract. We're having a little bit of problem, so I got the notice in. I went down here to the control box and I got the notice, and look at that right there. Look at this right here. That's all water damage. So water has been getting up in here because the seal that goes around this to keep the water out is bad. So now it's gotten in here and gotten this board wet, and now there's damage to that board. So we're having trouble getting this jack to retract, and you can see I've got a full floor jack under it, and it ain't doing nothing. It's stuck. So that's a little bit of a problem. So obviously gonna have to have a conversation with this customer about his Suncruiser. That thing's had some water in it, so it's obviously a problem, and that's probably what's causing some of the issues with the driver's side front jack is not going down. Now, the reason the back one's not coming up is because that solenoid with the wire off it that we saw in the other video. So probably an issue going on with that board. I might have to have a conversation with him, but that's for another time next week. We're about to get out of here. Appreciate all the comments from last week. Thanks for commenting on Gary being in the scissor lift. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Thanks for watching. And Cousin Gary, it's always what?
Cousin Gary approved.
There you go. Have a good weekend.